Retirement. It's a word that carries both relief and uncertainty. After decades of setting alarms, meeting deadlines, and putting others first, the quiet can feel both peaceful and a little unsettling. What do you do when your calendar suddenly clears? Who are you when the title, the uniform, the routines are gone? For many, this new chapter isn't just about having free time, it's about rediscovering purpose, energy, and identity. And that begins with one powerful truth. You can choose who you want to be next. Building new habits after retirement isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about honoring where you've been and gently crafting where you want to go. This journey is not about speed, but direction. And today, we'll explore the small, intentional steps that can transform your days from empty to meaningful. Because the life ahead still holds beauty, and it's waiting for you to step into it one gentle habit at a time. Step 1. Claim your mornings. The alarm no longer rings at 6 a.m. to rush you out the door. You don't have to beat traffic, meet deadlines, or prepare for back-to-back meetings anymore. For the first time in decades, your mornings belong entirely to you. And yet, that freedom can feel overwhelming. Without structure, the hours can slip by unnoticed. Coffee turns into TV time, which blends into lunch, and suddenly the day feels like it vanished. That's why the first and most powerful step in rebuilding your life after retirement is to reclaim your mornings. You see, mornings set the emotional tone for the rest of your day. How you begin often determines how you carry yourself through everything else. But this isn't about productivity in the old sense. You're not trying to be busy again. You're trying to be intentional, joyful, and fully present. A gentle morning ritual, crafted with care, can do more for your spirit than any to-do list ever could. Start simple. Begin with what nourishes you. Maybe it's a warm cup of herbal tea while watching the sunrise. Maybe it's stretching by an open window, or journaling 3 things you're grateful for. The goal isn't to fill the hours, it's to ground them. Give your mornings shape, meaning, and a rhythm that speaks to who you are now, not who you used to be. Let me tell you about Claire. She's 67, newly retired, and confessed that after her farewell party, she spent 3 weeks waking up whenever, drifting through the day in pajamas, and feeling strangely hollow. I thought retirement would feel like freedom, she said, but instead, I felt invisible. Then she decided to try something small. Every morning, she would get dressed even if she had nowhere to go and walk 1 lap around her garden. That little routine changed everything. The fresh air, the movement, the sound of birds, it reconnected her to the world. From there, she began writing in a notebook, then calling her sister after breakfast. And just like that, her mornings went from empty to essential. The power of a structured morning lies in its ability to remind you, you still matter. The world still needs your presence, your light, your rhythm. This is not about waking up at 5 a.m. or following someone else's idea of success. This is about honoring your own pace, creating a space where your thoughts can breathe, your heart can settle, and your spirit can rise. And if there are days when you sleep in, or skip the tea, or just stare out the window, that's okay too. Reclaiming your morning isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about starting the day by choosing yourself. Because when you begin with care, the rest of the day often follows in kind. Step 2. Define your purpose. Retirement is often seen as an ending, closing chapter, but in truth, it is a powerful beginning. You are not retiring from life, you are transitioning into a new, unwritten phase. And in this chapter, the greatest question is not, what do I do now? But, who do I want to become? That is the essence of redefining your purpose. For decades, your identity might have been linked to your profession, your title, your responsibilities to others. But now, you are free to define yourself not by your role, but by your values, your passions, your joy. Redefining purpose doesn't mean finding a grand mission or starting a charity unless that's what speaks to your soul. It means reconnecting with the parts of you that may have been quiet for years, the curious mind, the creative hands, the giving heart. This is the moment to ask, not what the world expects of you, but what your spirit longs for. Take Peter, a 70-year-old former engineer from Michigan. When he retired, he said he felt like a boat unmoored. I spent 40 years solving problems, being the go-to guy at work, And suddenly, no one needed me to fix anything. At first, he filled his days with chores, TV, and the occasional golf game. But something felt missing. Then, during a trip to his local library, he noticed a flyer about a mentoring program for high school students interested in science. He signed up. Every Thursday afternoon, Peter now meets with a group of teens, helping them build small robots and explain physics concepts. I didn't just rediscover a purpose, he says. I rediscovered myself. Purpose doesn't always look like productivity. Sometimes it looks like nurturing your garden, painting a memory, or simply being the wise voice in your grandchild's life. It's not about doing more, but about doing meaningfully. The power of this step lies in slowing down long enough to hear your inner calling, sometimes soft, sometimes bold, and choosing to follow it. There's also a kind of healing that happens when we shift focus from output to fulfillment. When you ask yourself, what makes me feel useful? Or, what fills me with peace? You are no longer chasing achievements, you are cultivating presence. That shift alone can add richness to your days and strength to your spirit. You may find purpose in service, in creativity, in learning, or in simply showing up for yourself in a way you never did before. Maybe it's joining a choir, writing your life stories, or volunteering at an animal shelter. There's no one right answer, but every act that brings you closer to your authentic self is a seed of purpose. If you're unsure where to begin, go back to what used to bring you joy as a child or a young adult before work and duty took over. What did you love to do before anyone told you what you should do? There's gold in those memories. Follow them. They may lead you to the most meaningful chapter of your life yet. Step 3. Cultivate meaningful connections. English after retirement. The rhythm of life changes. No more crowded meetings, no early alarms, no workplace chatter. At first, the quiet feels like a blessing, but over time, something subtler emerges, a gentle ache, a sense of disconnection. Human beings are made for connection. We thrive not just on solitude and independence, but on laughter shared, hands held, stories exchanged. That is why step 3 in building a joyful, balanced post-retirement life is to cultivate meaningful connections. Not just any social contact, but the kind that nourishes your spirit and strengthens your sense of belonging. Loneliness doesn't always look like isolation. It can live inside marriages, in busy households, or in the middle of dinner parties. What makes the difference is not quantity, but quality. Do you feel heard? Do you feel understood? Do you have someone who truly sees you, not just as a grandmother, a neighbor, or a polite retiree, but as the complex, evolving, valuable soul that you are? Take Evelyn, 74-year-old former art teacher in Colorado. When she retired, she thought she would enjoy the time alone to paint, read, and relax, and for a while she did. But gradually, her days began to blur together. Her phone rang less. Visits from friends slowed. She found herself talking to the television and rereading the same novel. One day, she joined a local art co-op, more out of curiosity than intention. There, she met other retirees, some quiet, some vibrant, all with stories to tell. She began sharing her own. Within months, Evelyn wasn't just painting again, she was leading workshops, mentoring younger artists, and hosting weekly tea gatherings in her backyard. Her eyes brightened, her steps quickened. She had reconnected with the world not through obligation, but through shared joy. Meaningful connection comes in many forms. It might be rekindling an old friendship, joining a walking club, starting a virtual book group, or simply calling your sister every Sunday. What matters is regularity, depth, and the courage to reach out even when you're feeling vulnerable. Rebuilding a social web takes time, but each thread adds strength. And here's the truth no one says aloud enough. You are still needed. Your presence is still a gift. In a world that often overlooks older adults, especially women, forging strong social ties becomes an act of quiet rebellion. It says, I'm not fading. I am still here, still curious, still generous, still learning. And I choose connection not as a cure for loneliness, but as a celebration of life. If you feel hesitant to reach out or worry that it's too late to make new friends, start small. Say hello to your neighbor, write a letter to an old colleague, attend a community event. Even if you don't know anyone, sometimes the smallest gesture opens the biggest door. There is also a sacred intimacy in intergenerational relationships. Spending time with younger people, whether through family, mentorship, or volunteering, can awaken parts of you that remember wonder, adaptability, and humor. Likewise, your stories, patience, and perspective are priceless gifts to them. Connection is a two-way street, and it's never too late to walk it with someone new. Step 4. Rediscover the joy of movement. One of the quietest, most transformative habits you can develop after retirement is the habit of joyful movement. Notice we didn't say exercise, because for many of us, that word carries the weight of obligation. It reminds us of gym memberships, strict routines, and guilt. But movement? Movement is freedom. Movement is music for your bones. Movement is how your body says, I'm still here, and I still want to dance. After decades of pushing your body to meet deadlines, carry groceries, run errands, or support others, it's time to move for you. And no, this doesn't mean marathons or boot camps. It means walking in the park without a destination. It means dancing in your kitchen. It means gentle stretching to your favorite jazz records. It means letting movement feel like a celebration, not a chore. Let's take the story of Harold. At 72, he had accepted that stiffness, fatigue, and aches were just part of aging. He rarely left the house and spent most of his time reading or watching TV. But then his daughter gifted him a pair of walking shoes and invited him on a 10-minute stroll each morning. At first, he resisted. What difference can 10 minutes make? He asked. But on the third morning, he noticed something: a lightness in his step, a clarity in his thoughts. The simple act of moving forward changed him. From there, Harold's routine grew. 10 minutes became 20. The walk became a part of his morning ritual. He began to greet neighbors he'd never spoken to. He found a local walking club and joined. Not for the miles, but for the laughter, for the stories, for the connection. Movement has a way of awakening parts of us that life tries to quiet. The parts that remember how it felt to run barefoot as a child, to swing from trees, to stretch toward the sky. The parts that say, you are not done yet. You don't need a plan. You don't need to get in shape. You just need to move. Start with what feels good. Maybe it's gardening. Maybe it's dancing with your grandchildren. Maybe it's stretching while the kettle boils. Whatever it is, honor it. Schedule it. Make it a part of your rhythm. Because your body is not a burden. It's your oldest friend. It has carried you through decades of laughter, sorrow, work, and wonder. It deserves to move with joy, and so do you. So tomorrow, when you wake up, ask your body this question: how would you like to move today? Then listen, and follow where it leads. Step 5. Rekindle old passions, or discover new ones. There is a special kind of magic that lives in passion, the kind that makes hours feel like minutes, the kind that brings a glow to your cheeks, and a rhythm to your days. But for many people entering retirement, passion feels like a luxury they no longer know how to access. Life may have been spent raising families, holding down jobs, caring for aging parents, noble and necessary roles that often required self-sacrifice. And in the process, many passions were gently tucked away, stored in attic boxes or faded notebooks, waiting quietly to be remembered. Now, however, the landscape of your life is different. Retirement offers something rare: time. Time to reflect, time to explore, time to revive parts of yourself that once danced freely but grew quiet over the decades. The key is this: rekindling a passion is not about performing or achieving, it's about connecting with joy. It's about nourishing the spirit, not building a resume. Let me tell you about Judith, 67, who lives in Vermont. She was a bookkeeper for over 30 years, meticulous and dependable. But before numbers became her profession, stories were her escape. As a girl, Judith wrote fantastical tales in spiral notebooks, adventures set in castles, forests, and secret worlds. Life eventually swept those dreams aside, but the longing never fully disappeared. One afternoon, while cleaning her basement, she found an old story draft. Something inside her stirred. That night, She sat down at her computer and typed the first sentence of a new story. That sentence turned into a chapter, which turned into a routine. She now writes short fiction for a local senior newsletter and recently read one of her stories aloud at the community library. She cried afterward, not from nerves, but from the overwhelming feeling of being fully alive. Passion doesn't have to be grand or artistic to matter. It could be woodworking, birdwatching, knitting, calligraphy, restoring old furniture, baking family recipes, or learning a language you've always admired from afar. Passion is deeply personal. The only rule is, it must make your heart feel lighter and your days feel richer. Reigniting passion after retirement also has powerful psychological and health benefits. Studies have shown that older adults who engage regularly in creative or skill-based hobbies have lower risks of depression, improved cognitive function, and even slower physical decline. Passion doesn't just entertain, it sustains. Not sure where to begin? Ask yourself this: what made me lose track of time when I was younger? Or, what have I always admired in others that I never dared try myself? These small questions can be a compass. Then take the smallest possible step. Join a community class. Borrow a book on the subject. Watch a YouTube tutorial. Visit a museum or park for inspiration. Invite a friend to try something new with you. Passion is rarely found by waiting for the perfect moment. It is found by showing up for the imperfect one and seeing where it leads. And here's a truth no one talks about enough. You don't need to be good at something for it to matter. You just need to love it. The joy of painting isn't in being a great painter. It's in mixing colors that make your soul smile. The joy of music isn't in performing on stage. It's in the private concert you give yourself on a rainy afternoon. This is your time to be curious, to be bold, to be unfinished, to be playful, to feel something again. Passion is not about youth. It's about energy. It's about desire. And you, dear reader, are still full of both. You're not too late. You're just on time. Step 6. Create a gentle morning ritual in retirement. The world no longer demands your mornings. There are no conference calls waiting, no school buses to chase, no office doors swinging open at 8 a.m. Instead, you are gifted something most people chase their whole lives: time. And how you begin each day now has the power to shape not just your routine, but your spirit. That's why Step 6 is about creating a gentle, meaningful morning ritual. Not a routine you must follow, but a sacred space you choose to step into every day. You see, when we're younger, our mornings belong to others. We wake up for work, for children, for errands. We rush. We pour coffee with one hand while checking our phones with the other. But retirement is an invitation to slow down and reclaim the first hour of the day as something sacred. Because how you start your morning determines the tone of your entire day. A morning ritual is like a compass. It grounds you, points you in the direction of peace, and reminds you that you matter. Let's talk about what this ritual might look like. It doesn't need to be elaborate or long. In fact, the best ones often begin simply with a few breaths, a warm cup of tea, and silence. For example, Elaine, 72, begins every morning the same way. She lights a candle, sits by her bedroom window, and watches the sunrise for 10 minutes. No distractions, no music, no talking. Just the sky changing color and the quiet breath of morning. Then she reads a devotional passage, stretches lightly, and makes herself a breakfast that nourishes not just her body, but her spirit. That simple act changed her entire life. Before, her mornings were filled with news reports, notifications, and a sense of restlessness. Now, her days feel grounded, more peaceful. She feels like she owns her time again, rather than borrowing it from the rush of the world. Your ritual can be uniquely yours. Maybe it's a slow morning walk with your dog. Maybe it's writing in a gratitude journal. Maybe it's classical music, a warm bath, watering your plants, or sipping coffee while sketching. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's. The only requirement is that it brings you joy and peace. And here's the deeper truth. When you start your day with intention, you stop letting the world dictate your mood. You step into your own rhythm. You create a sanctuary inside the ordinary. It's not just about what you do, it's about how you feel while doing it. Give yourself that gift. Make your mornings your own. Because no matter what comes later in the day, appointments, conversations, surprises, you'll have already anchored yourself in calm. You'll be centered, and in a season of life that often asks you to redefine who you are, that kind of centering is everything. Step 7. Build a new social circle with intention. One of the quiet truths about retirement that few people prepare for is the shift in social connections. When we retire, we don't just step away from a job, we often step away from daily interactions, shared routines, and casual conversations that once shaped our social lives. The coffee breaks with colleagues, the hallway hellos, the shared laughter at meetings, they fade. And in their place can come a surprising and often unspoken sense of isolation. That's why building a new social circle is not just important, it's vital. It becomes part of your emotional infrastructure, offering support, joy, purpose, and even health benefits. Studies have shown that seniors with strong social ties live longer, experience fewer health issues, and report higher life satisfaction. But here's the key: unlike the past, when friendships formed naturally through school or work, this time, it requires intention. Let me introduce you to Lewis, a 74-year-old widower from Oregon. When Lewis retired from his role as a high school science teacher, he imagined finally catching up on books, fixing up his backyard, and enjoying long walks alone. But after a few months, the silence began to stretch. The days grew repetitive. Meals were eaten alone, TV filled the evenings, and phone calls from old friends became less frequent. Lewis realized that he wasn't just retired, he was lonely. One day, while picking up groceries, he noticed a flyer pinned to the community bulletin board: "Weekly chess club, all levels welcome." Lewis hadn't played in years, but something about that small piece of paper lit a spark. He showed up the next Tuesday, nervous but hopeful. The room was filled with a dozen older adults, laughing, chatting, and happily arguing over strategy. That evening, Lewis not only remembered how to play, he rediscovered what it felt like to belong. From that one club, his social life began to blossom. He found out about a local men's walking group, joined a Saturday morning book circle, and started volunteering once a month at a nearby youth center tutoring science. It didn't happen overnight, but little by little, his life filled with voices, smiles, and handshakes again. You don't have to love chess or be outgoing to find new connections. What matters is taking that first step toward community. Visit your local community center or library. Look up classes or hobby groups in your area. Attend a wellness workshop, join a gentle yoga class, or even offer to help at a local charity. If mobility is a challenge, online communities have grown stronger than ever. Video calls, Facebook groups, and virtual meetups can bring warmth into your home from anywhere in the world. It's also okay to feel nervous. Many people feel awkward putting themselves out there after years of routine. But remember this: everyone is looking for connection, whether they say it aloud or not. And when you reach out, even just a little, you give someone else permission to do the same. Friendship after retirement is not about quantity, it's about depth. It's about choosing people who uplift you, who listen, who laugh with you, and who walk with you through this new chapter. And it starts with one small act of courage: showing up again and again, till the room feels familiar and the conversations become yours. Because no matter your age, your need for belonging never fades. It simply evolves. And when you surround yourself with kind, like-minded souls, your golden years will not only be peaceful, they'll be filled with purpose and connection. Step 8. Practice patience and self-compassion. Building new habits at any stage of life is never an overnight transformation, and after retirement, it becomes less about speed and more about sustainability. One of the biggest traps retirees fall into is expecting quick results. Whether it's adopting a new exercise routine, trying to eat healthier, starting a journal, or learning a skill, the desire for instant change often leads to early disappointment. But the truth is, creating lasting change takes time and grace. Patience and self-compassion are not just nice sentiments. They are the bedrock upon which successful lifelong habits are built, especially after decades of living a certain way. Shifting behaviors, perspectives, and patterns requires more than motivation. It demands kindness, forgiveness, and a willingness to begin again, over and over. Let's take the story of Harold, age 74, who decided he wanted to meditate daily to help with stress and sleep. Inspired by a podcast, he downloaded an app, lit a candle, sat on the edge of his bed, and after 5 minutes of trying to breathe mindfully, he gave up. His mind was racing. His knees hurt. He felt foolish. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this, he thought. But a week later, Harold tried again. This time, he sat in a recliner with a pillow behind his back. He played soft ocean sounds instead of silence. He didn't aim for 10 minutes, just 3. And it worked. Gradually, those 3 minutes became 5, then 7. Some days he forgot. Some days he didn't want to. But every time he returned, he treated himself not with shame, but with gentle encouragement. Today, Harold meditates most evenings and sleeps more peacefully than he has in years. The point is not perfection. The point is persistence wrapped in kindness. Think of habit formation like tending a garden. You plant the seeds, water them consistently, protect them from weeds. And most importantly, you don't yank them up to check if they're growing. You trust the process. Every stumble is not a failure. It's feedback. It's your mind and body saying, I'm learning. If a new routine doesn't stick the first time, it doesn't mean you're weak or incapable. It means you're human. And being human means ebbing and flow, rising and resetting, again and again. If you miss a day, resume. If you feel frustrated, breathe. If you're tempted to quit, remind yourself why you began. And above all, speak to yourself the way you would to a dear friend. Would you call them lazy? Would you scold them for needing time? Of course not. You'd encourage them, believe in them, walk beside them. Offer that same grace to yourself. Because this chapter of your life isn't about chasing flawless routines. It's about crafting a lifestyle that honors who you are now with all the wisdom, scars, dreams, and changes that have shaped you. Be gentle with your beginnings. Let them be messy, imperfect, slow. That's how all beautiful things start. So as you continue building new habits in retirement, carry this truth with you. Patience is power, and self-compassion is the bridge that gets you from hope to habit, from intention to transformation. You're not late. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be. Retirement isn't the end of the road, it's a brand new beginning. It is a rare moment in life when time slows enough for us to choose who we want to be next. And the habits we build now, one small step at a time, can redefine what aging looks and feels like. You've learned that transformation doesn't demand perfection. It asks for patience, clarity, and kindness toward yourself. Each step you take, whether it's waking up earlier, walking a little farther, learning something new, or simply breathing more deeply, is a seed planted in the rich soil of this new chapter. Let it grow. Let it be imperfect. Let it be yours. Because the habits you nurture today will shape the joy, peace, and fulfillment of your tomorrow.